Evening and welcome to the second virtual meeting of Chilthorne Parish Council. I am happily able to confirm that we have had no items for inclusion from members of the parish for the open session. Over to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Emma. So we've got nothing to do there, so we'll start off with apologies and absence. Mark sends his apologies again. Don't think there's anything else on that subject. So we move on to item 2, declarations of interest. Okay. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting.
Yep.
Nothing untoward there.
Okay to me.
Everybody happy with them?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so item 4, district councillors report. Which one wants to?
You want to go first, Paul?
As I said earlier, there is going to be some changes on the regulation committee. There will be a reduction of, I believe, 4. And since I'm last on, I may not be on there much longer, which I hope won't happen before we resolve this issue at Chilthorne Nap. I don't think it's going to do it, but I'll be very upset if it turns out that way. Otherwise, it's trotted on. Tony.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Chairman. Only a couple of things. One is I've heard a rumour that our district council is going to join with Somerset County Council Unitary Authority. I hope that's not right. Maybe Emma could help us on that one, because I don't think it's right, and we should have a referendum for the people to actually say yes or nay on that. Up to date, our district council has given away a grant over £33 million to help people in businesses. I know that it could be more than that now. And the other thing that I've got just to report as well is that I did have a planned application in for a TPO, Chilthorne Domer, and it's Phil Polton is dealing with it. It's, hang on a minute, Trees Preservation Order number 1. Now, I don't know where it's to unless somebody else can help me with Chilthorne Domer, tell me where that is. So that's all I've got really to update. We had a area east meeting Wednesday just gone. There was one application, I think, that had to go to regulation on a meeting, which is to do with Castle Carey, a piece of land between the station and Ansford. But it was delegated to our chief exec, same as a refusal, same as what the planning officers put down, and we all voted for refusal, and that didn't even go to regulation. It had 2 stars to go to that, and he had the final say in it, so that's got refused. Apart from that, I don't think anything else I can report on that, but I'd like myself and Paul, we're here. If you need anything, you can contact us, and we'd be more than happy to reply back to you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Tony.
Tony, can I quick question? That TPO number 1, what's the issue with it?
They're going to put a tree preservation order on that tree. That's what it is. They're not cutting it or anything else. I have got the number here if anybody wants to know it is a reference number. Do you want to take that down or not?
Well, there's a TPO. There's a new TPO request that was submitted.
Yeah.
For Oakley, but okay, if that's the one, that's fine. It's just that TPO number 1 actually also covers the area down towards my patch and right, the bit of woodland that got devastated earlier in the year.
Okay, I can't add no more than that, but Phil Polton, if you want to update on that, I'll give you his number. You can speak to him direct if you want to, phone him, which is 01935 462 670. Okay.
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 Kevin, do you think is something it marks on top of?
I don't know. I do have a query regarding this TPO order on the bits of paper I've read. What you sent the email today, Emma? It lists 23 oak trees, listing them one by number 1, number 2, number 3. When you read down the list, it gets to 22 and forgets number 23. I don't want a slip up down there because I believe 23 is one of the ones that's near his caravan.
I will query it.
Yeah, okay. I would imagine they've just, not put on number 23. It mentions 23 oak trees.
Yeah, don't cut that one down.
No. But yeah, that's a good bit of work there. Thank you, Emma, for sorting that out as well.
You're very welcome.
It goes through. I was going to bring that up later on in the meeting, but now we're on TPOs. It's a good time to deal with it because nobody should be allowed to cut down an oak tree of that size. Okay, so that's dealt with item 5. So we're happy to move on to item number 6.
No, that's dealt with number 4.
Number 4. Oh, sorry. Yeah. County Councillors report in item 5.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. In terms of sort of a general update from the County Council, there isn't really much at this point. Just picking up on what Tony said about the unitary, I'm not entirely sure where the districts are with this. As far as the County Council is concerned, as far as I know, they're putting together a business case for a county-wide unitary authority. That will go to the full County Council in July. As far as I know, it hasn't actually been circulated as yet, and it's still being worked on. But I don't know, maybe the district councillors could give a bit more of an idea on what the other councils are doing. I thought they were looking at counter proposals, because once the business case for the County Council has been effectively agreed by full council, it will go to the Secretary of State for to review. So with that in mind, I mean, moving on to the next bit, which is sort of I think the main thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, which is the small improvement scheme for Tintinall Road. As you would have seen last week, there are things are moving at pace now. I think it's fair to say that there's been a lot of momentum now behind this, that we have the vehicle activated sign, which can change to show 20 miles an hour and 30 miles an hour. They've agreed to the 20 mile an hour up Main Street, and at the moment we're waiting for the design to come forward. Now, the 3 things that we need to settle so I can tell them to get on and deal with this as quickly as possible is the design of the bus shelter, an agreement that the parish will take on the responsibility of the bus shelter, and then a offer in terms of how much you're willing to put towards the cost of a bus shelter. I think that's everything, isn't it, Emma? I think those are the 3 things. Yeah. So once that's resolved and we have those 3 things, I'm confident that actually this can get delivered ASAP. And I think that there's a real push now to stop mucking about, to actually get spade in the ground, as it were, and get this thing delivered. And I think we've come a long way even in the last 6 months from where it was to where it is now. But it's worth mentioning one thing is that the bus shelter itself does not form part of the small improvement scheme. Okay, so the bus shelter is being agreed to be done alongside the small improvement scheme. So if the issues around the bus shelter can't be resolved, the County Council can still go ahead, and they can go ahead with the vehicle activated sign and all the other things that are going to form part of this scheme. So that's really kind of the main thing. As soon as you give me the green light to go to the offices and say this is what's happening, things will move quickly.
Emma, do you want to take over on that a little bit and give him the
I
figures?
can do. Details or questions were sent out last week regarding the bus shelter due to the postponement from last week for the meeting. I have had some responses, didn't have a response from all members of the council, and therefore weren't able to have a majority decision. The one thing that all of the responses I received had in common was that they would wish to go for the larger version of the shelter. So for those people that don't know which one I'm talking about, it's the one that's 2.64 metres long as opposed to 2 metres long. And those that have expressed an opinion would like to go for the polycarbonate sides as well as roof. And I'm assuming this is because of the history within the village of antisocial behaviour.
Yeah. And do you need a figure on that as well, Josh?
What I think we'd need is an offer in terms of what you guys would be prepared to put towards it, and the county council said they will gap fund then the remaining cost.
The quote as received from the county council is an out-of-date quote, so it would need re-quoting anyway. But in an attempt to try and move that section forwards, the current cost without the polycarbonate sides, this is with the toughened glass side opposed to polycarbonate, but it does include £99 for a timetable case. I don't know if people feel a need for a timetable case, bearing in mind that it's
bus shelter for the kids.
Bus to pick up rather than a general bus shelter.
That's just a bus shelter for the kids, isn't it? More than anything else. We don't need that.
And it does also include £75 for a flag bracket.
No.
And £254 for aluminium seating.
I don't think they need a seat either. They just want somewhere dry to stand under for 10 minutes. If we put seats in there, it's just going to encourage them to loiter.
Is it really? I mean, are we simply aiming this at the kids, or are we also aiming this at anybody else that's heading in that direction? Which I know it's going to be a few, but I'm thinking if there's any elder people, then seats can be useful.
If you put a seat in there, you're going to have it as a central point for some teenagers to gather, and that will create other problems.
What you got to remember is at the moment they got nothing. Adam, I can't hear Adam.
Sorry.
You're just out, mate.
Well,
I can see you're trying to do something.
There had to be the first person that left himself on mute, didn't there? I was going to say, if it's any of these modern bus shelters, where it's just literally a bit of metal which is tilted, they're not
rather than seat.
Yeah, they're not the most comfortable anyway. So it's not as if, whilst yes, it could encourage people to loiter. I would probably argue that the benefit that it provides is as a seat, anything more than 5-10 minutes is probably going to get quite uncomfortable after that. So I haven't got a preference either way, but all I would say is if we're wanting to make sure it's accessible, it might be something we have to consider.
If you want the seat, I'm not fussed about the seat. You can have it. It's not a problem. If you think it's going to stop them from kicking the glass in or the polycarbonate in, then put the seat in there.
So what I'm getting then from the conversation going on is that we're going for the 2.64 metre long with polycarbonate sides with the seat.
Yep.
No timetable case, unless anybody says anything different.
I think you should have a timetable.
My only worry, not Hamish, is who's actually going to put a timetable in it.
Well, the bus company, doesn't it?
I think Southwest Coaches or Southwest Buses, don't even know what the name of the company is, but the company that runs the service, when I had a look in there a couple of days ago, it was a tatty, horrible printed sheet of paper that hadn't had a lot of attention given to it. So if we were to go for the bus timetable holder, we'd be then expecting them to put something a bit more reasonable on there that's readable. And I don't know if they'd be willing to do that.
Again, the only counter argument is the accessibility one, but as I just say, Adam, it's down to that would probably end up with one of us having to print the damn thing off. And it will invariably be out of date just when somebody wants to use it.
Yeah, let's go back to basics a minute. At the moment, they got absolutely nothing. So we're offering to put a bus shelter there. So at least it keeps the kids dry, which is a good step in the right direction. A timetable I don't think is worth having, but if I'm voted against, then we'll go with it. But I don't think it's worth having because nobody's going to put it in there.
It's expensive. It's £100 for very little. To be honest, if they do get quite precious about a timetable being there, we can always print out something and put a laminate sheet on there and stick it onto the polycarbonate. It's we can put the timetable on the website. There are many other things we can do to make it accessible. So I think it's very expensive for putting a sheet of paper in there and changing it once every 6 months.
There we go. Well,
Is that a consensus or?
I propose we go without the timetable.
I'll second that.
There you go.
Fine.
Okay, that's majority regardless.
Everyone in agreement?
Yep.
No, I'm not agreeing. But
You're not agreeing? Well, you're okay.
So the longer shelter, polycarbonate.
with seat.
No
With the
timetable
seat.
case. With the seat.
Yeah.
Most uncomfortable seat.
So they have the Chesterfield option as well.
Are we happy with the half end panels? Does everybody understand what I mean with the half end panels?
No.
Yeah.
Basically, the ends of the bus shelter. You have four options. You have no panels on the ends. You have quarter panels, so they come a quarter of the way across. Half panels, come halfway across, and full panels.
Okay.
Are we happy with half ends?
How wide is it again?
1.38
So
meters,
halfway would be half of that.
70 centimeters. All by the shouting.
Just under 2.5 feet.
I could hide behind
terms.
that. That's enough to hide behind if the wind's blowing the rain, isn't it?
I think
Yeah,
the other aspect is how much room there is. If you put those panels on the end, can you actually get past the bus shelter when the grass is up?
I think half panels would be good enough. I think that'd be great.
And no flag bracket.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So I've got notes here now of what we would like the bus shelter to be. Based on the quote in front of me, which isn't for polycarbonate, this is for the toughened glass. So the polycarbonate is more expensive, but it's not massively so. I should have made a note somewhere, but I didn't. Apologies.
The polycarbonate was £100 more to each shelter price.
Thank you very much indeed, Tim. So that is evened out by the timetable case, to be fair. So the quote in front of me is £4,551 and minus the £75 for the flag bracket, but obviously because it's an old quote, the price may have gone up slightly. What I would suggest is that maybe you consider a maximum cost for the bus shelter of no more than £5,000. And are you therefore happy with no more than £5,000 for the bus shelter?
Sounds good to me. No more than 5,000. Probably exceeds what we need to spend.
What about
It's probably more likely to be 4,500.
what about the base?
The base.
It's going to need a concrete base, isn't it? Or something.
Yeah, I don't know who's supplying what on this. That's the trouble. We're supplying the biggest part of the bus shelter. Obviously, the council will be providing the base, will they, Josh?
I'd imagine so. I mean, they've agreed to the installation. And as part of the installation, if that requires the base, then I would assume that that would be part of it. I mean, obviously, I can double check and just make absolutely sure, but you know, I can't imagine them sort of saying, you know, if you've paid for the bus shelter, obviously, then they're not prepared to ensure that, you know, it's properly kind of installed. So, but I will double check that point if you like me to. That's no problem. But you know, as I say, the agreement there was they would install it alongside the SIS, providing they weren't expected to continue the maintenance of it moving forward.
Okay, so basically, if we agree to pay up to £5,000 for the bus shelter, the council would put in the base to put it on and make everything good around it.
They will
Well,
put. They will. Oh, sorry, Emma.
Go on, Josh.
I was just going to say they will. They will pay for the gap funding between the what you've agreed to put in and obviously the cost, which as far as I'm aware at this point includes the installation. So
do we have to fund the whole? So if it's going to cost £4,500 for the bus shelter, we're saying here we don't want it to exceed 5,000. Are we committing to the full spend of that, or are we going to pay part of that?
No, that's where I was going next.
Yeah, as I say,
I believe there's a proportion in there.
Yeah, that's right.
What I think as a council you need to agree is that you are willing to pay up to £5,000 for bus shelter.
In total, including the gap funding.
Yeah. In case Somerset County Council say, well, their gap funding is the installation and the concrete plinth.
Right. Okay.
In case that's how Somerset County Council come back.
Yeah.
What you also next need to agree to is that you are willing to pay to do the maintenance of the shelter. Obviously, that will include adding it to your insurance.
Okay.
So if we're not sure yet what they will pay as the gap fund, is it not better, rather than agreeing to pay the full amount, to make an agreement on what we'd be willing to part pay, and then if they come back and refuse that, we then review that accordingly?
I'm trying to be able to get this agreed in one meeting rather than having to wait another month for another meeting.
It could be the difference of £2,500 if they'd be willing to pay for half of it, right?
My next question is, what percentage are you willing to start with for county?
50.
Is it worth asking, Josh, what a typical share would be on this sort of project?
I wouldn't know that, and I don't think it would sort of really be appropriate for me to kind of pull a figure out of the air. I think really, from my perspective, whatever you guys are willing to put forward as a starting point, you know, I will do my very best to try and get that forward.
I propose 50-50 to start with. And at least it shows we're meeting them halfway. Ultimately, we're taking off their hands the responsibility for maintaining this moving forward. So we've got to expect any additional cost of insurance and looking after that for the, which is obviously going to incur cost in the future. Ultimately, it's up to obviously the whole council, right? But I would propose 50-50 is a good place to start, and obviously at least shows willing.
I would have thought.
Chairman, can I come in a minute on this, please? Chairman, can I come in on this?
Yep. Carry on, Tony.
Did I say to you before that there is grants available on the district council? Because I can't remember. There's up to £1,000 that we can give you for any project that you want. I suggest you go for that and add it to your bus shelter. That's all I was going to say. And the officer who deals with that is Tim Cook. I expect Emma knows who I'm on about. And he's got the grants. We've already given a grant to Ilchester Parish Council for a speed indicator towards that. And Kenton Mandeville's had £1,000. And I suggest that you put in for it as well, just to help along. Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Tony. Brilliant idea.
Having said that, I personally would suggest that you still go 50-50 with Somerset County Council, and if you can get £1,000 from the district, then all the better.
Go for it. I'll second it. Adam proposed it. I'll second it.
Did Hamish have something to say? I think Hamish was trying to say something.
Well,
sorry, I can't see Hamish very well.
If we say 50-50 with a maximum of 2,500, that covers both things. That means that we support it up to 5,000, but start off 50-50.
That's what I was trying to establish, was whether, if Somerset County Council turn around and say, well, no, we're going to pay 10% only, are you guys happy to pay the other 90%?
I think we are, and I think that would be, if this meeting, gives you, Kevin, this, the agreement that you can agree, whatever is necessary as the end of the negotiations.
At the end of the day, we'll pay what we need to pay, but we're not going to, we can't afford to pay 12,000-15,000 pounds for a bus shelter.
No, that's fine. You've answered the questions that I needed, in as much as, yes, you're happy to pay up to £5,000 for the bus shelter, should you be required to. You're happy to pay for the maintenance, including putting on the insurance, and you'd like me to start the offer at 50%. Brilliant.
And we would look to fund that part of that 50% with the £1,000 grant we're getting from district. Yeah. Great.
Is everybody happy with what I've just said, so that we can try and move this forward? As I said, I'm trying to get it all bases covered in one session, so that the small improvement scheme doesn't have to wait another month for you guys to be able to meet to say, oh, okay, we'll go to 60% or we'll go to.
Yes.
Yep, go for the 50% and see where we get.
And negotiate hard from there.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Josh, that covers everything we needed to cover, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know whether anyone sort of wanted to just on the next item on the TRO. There's nothing really much to say on that, really.
I've got one thing.
Okay, but
sorry, Josh.
Because it's highways matters. I'll stay to the end of the highways matters, if you like.
Okay, so yeah, we've moved on to item 6, sort of all under item 5 as well. Josh, this thing what was sent through on the speed limit order 2020. Do you know where we're going with this yet?
Yeah. This came out of nowhere. For those who don't know, a traffic regulation order was circulated a week and a half ago, something like that. I must admit, I was quite excited, because I think actually I thought maybe they would have actually listened to me for once. But actually, what's happened is that the traffic regulation order, or the proposals, are exactly what is currently in place. And when I challenged them on it and I said, why is this the case? The answer was, it transpired that the existing traffic regulation order did not include all posted speed limits within the parish. Therefore, the order is being advertised reflects the current limits on the signs on the highway. So effectively, it's housekeeping, if for want for a better word.
You know what I'm going to ask next, don't you?
I know, and yeah, absolutely, and well, go ahead for the meeting.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay, paragraph 4: persons wishing to object to the proposed order. I would like it extended while we're spending money to reflect what the parish wants, not what the county council wants.
Okay.
Can you understand that? Why are we spending money twice?
No, it's a very good point. Can you put that in? Can you put that in an email to me? And I can go directly to the traffic officer and put that in as a formal kind of objection. Yeah, that's it. Thank you to this particular TRO.
I think Emma's already on the case, aren't you, Emma?
To be fair, I had intended writing something, but it's kind of written in my head. It's just not written on paper yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I think we should also ask the traffic officer to kindly come and sit on Sentinel Road at the side of it and witness just how many people take the mick with speeding through the village, and then realise that we're very lucky the school isn't meeting at the moment, because the number of people that put themselves at risk when they're crossing that road, to the idiots that speed down that hill in either direction. I think there's no appreciation for what we're putting forward here.
No, I hear what you say, and from my perspective, we have tried on several occasions in particular, to try and get them to extend the lowest speed limit, but the answer that's come back on numerous occasions is that it doesn't comply with Department for Transport regs. These are regulations which are out of date. They are 15 years old, something like that. But I think now is a good opportunity to register your objections and put your views through a little bit more forthright. I mean, bearing in mind that the whole reason that we're going through I can hear myself. The whole reason we're going through the small improvement scheme is to try and reduce that speed through that area outside the school.
Okay. Thank
It
you,
will
Josh.
be with you by the end of play tomorrow, Josh.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I believe Mark's sending you one as well personally, or somebody
Excellent.
personally, because obviously getting in and out of this place is an absolute joke.
Yeah, please do. I mean, if you want to put your own objections through to me, please do. I will collate them and I will put them through.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Can I just ask?
Chairman, can I just say that? Yeah, sorry, very quickly.
Carry on, Tony.
People, they're not. Yeah, those people are not speaking. If they go on mute, you won't get that feedback, because that's what's happening. Everybody's got their mics on, you see, and you get that feedback. What we tend to do when we have meetings, obviously switch off until you want to speak, then switch on for your mic.
I just had one question to ask as well. I'm not sure whether it's county districts who deal with this, but it was around the speed monitoring that we were going to do in the village as well. I know that obviously in the current climate it's very difficult, but I know that there was progress being spoken about at the last meeting. Are we anywhere closer to being able to get the equipment to run that campaign in the village at all?
Yeah, so we have the site. You'll be using the equipment that I use for Brimpton Community Speedwatch. The only thing that is stopping us right now is that Avon and Somerset Police have effectively put a hold on any Speedwatch operations due to COVID-19.
Okay.
There was an update on this last week, and they're constantly reviewing whether to allow Speedwatch to take place.
Josh, anything on A37?
I'll chase that one up for you, Paul. I've been concentrating on Tintinall Road in the first instance, but I will find that out for you, because I think the last time I gave an update was we were due some form of proposal. So yeah, I'll look to get that for you for the next meeting.
Okay, cheers.
Okay, thank you very much. So item 8 then. Community safety and police matters.
I've had nothing statistics wise through, and again I've looked at the website and they're 2 months out of date. I know that Hamish quite often used to, or I don't know if he still does, gets the neighbourhood watch emails through, so he may be in a better position to let us know if there's anything going on in the area.
I no longer get them because my wife is not a member.
Thanks, Hamish.
You're off, are you, Josh?
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks very much, Josh, for your help.
No problem at all. If you need me, you know where to get me.
Thank you.
Chairman, do you need me as well?
I think we can manage, Tony. Thanks for your input tonight, mate.
Well, thank you, everyone. And like I say, if we can help you and get some grants going, the more the merrier. Thank you very much, Chairman, and everybody else.
Thank you for your time. Cheers.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay. Number 9 then, financial matters and accounts.
Even though this time of year this year has been delayed, I still love this time of year. You will have all received a whole heap of documents.
Yep.
I can never remember which order it needs to go on the agenda, because it has to go in a specific order on the agenda to ask you the various questions. So I've put it on the order that I think it's supposed to be in, that makes sense in my head, but it might be the wrong order. I'll just give you a heads up on that now. I need to run through with you 8 questions.
Okay.
I would very much like the answers to all 8 to be yes. but obviously I need the real answers. What
Okay.
I propose is if give me no signal at all if the answer is yes, and wave at me madly if the answer is no. Does that make sense? Everybody, can people nod at me if that makes sense? Question number 1. We have put in place arrangements for effective financial management during the year and for the preparation of the accounting statements. We maintained an adequate system of internal control, including measures designed to prevent and detect fraud and corruption, and reviewed its effectiveness. We took all reasonable steps to assure ourselves that there are no matters of actual or potential non-compliance with laws, regulations, and proper practices that could have a significant financial effect on the ability of this authority to conduct its business or manage its finances. We provided proper opportunity during the year for the exercise of electors' rights in accordance with the requirements of the accounts and audit regulations. We carried out an assessment of the risks facing this authority and took appropriate steps to manage those risks, including the introduction of internal controls and/or external insurance cover where required. We maintained throughout the year an adequate and effective system of internal audit of the accounting records and control systems. We took appropriate action on all matters raised in reports from internal and external audit. For your information, there weren't any. And last but not least, we considered whether any litigation, liabilities, or commitments, events or transactions occurring either during or after the year end have a financial impact on this authority and, where appropriate, have included them in the accounting statements. I take it from no mad waving that you're happy for me to say yes to all of those questions. Thank you very much indeed. Are you also happy? The sheet that came through that looks like this. Everybody know which sheet I'm talking about? Are you also happy that myself and Kevin as chairman signed that sheet to say that they are accurate figures?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Obviously, those figures were extracted from last year's end of financial year tiny spreadsheet. Actually, to be fair, they were extracted from this one, which was extracted from that end of financial year because it makes it easier. Are you all also happy for me and Kevin to sign those 3 sheets that were also sent through, the end of year ones? Yep. So that one, which is last year's and this year's, the bank balances in each individual account and the payments and deposits, and the final sheet that came through on that same worksheet. And I'm also assuming that you're all happy for me to go ahead with the route that we took, I think for the last couple of years, with the exemption route, which means that we don't have to go for an external audit, apologies, unless we are randomly chosen.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Kevin, you and I need to agree to meet somewhere external, 2 meters apart, so that we can sign these documents.
Okay.
We'll do that later. It's fine. We can.
Yeah, we'll sort that out later on.
There's no massive rush. I also need to get all the audit documents folder full to our internal auditor, which reminds me.
Do they not allow for e-signatures?
I don't know. Okay. Some of them I don't. To be fair, because Chilthorne's 2 minutes down the road from me. Kevin and I can meet in a car park somewhere, and
It's at least 4. I mean,
yeah, okay.
I should be
Depends on
passing
whether I
by
stick
tomorrow
the
morning.
speed limit or not, doesn't it? But no, we can meet in a car park 2 meters apart and sign on a car bonnet, and it will be fine. Just
If
not
it's-
for the next
yeah.
few days because it's going to be wet.
Yeah, if it's desperate to be signed, I should be passing by tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon. If not, sometime next week or something like that.
Okay, as I said, I need to ensure that our internal auditor is happy to continue this year. I suspect that she will be. Well, it's an ex-colleague of mine's husband that does it because he's an accountant.
Okay.
And the money that we pay her, which in the past has been £50, I think. Yes, I have. She then gives to charity anyway. So obviously that kind of means it's a win-win. We get our internal audit done and charity makes some money out of it.
Okay.
Because to find an independent internal auditor that's effectively willing to do it for free is not easy. So I need to check with her that it's all okay to go ahead. Now that I can deliver stuff to her doorstep, I can do that. And arrange with her when I'm going to drop that off to her. Because we've got an established relationship with her and with her accountant husband, if we don't get these documents signed before then, I'm sure they'll be fine.
Okay.
Especially if I can point them to the YouTube video.
Okay, no problem.
Lovely. I've lost my agenda. There it is. No receipts of any interest, well, of any note apart from some interest, and that's not a huge amount. And you'll have the current income and expenditure document through.
Yeah. Yeah, the only one I had a query about was the £30 aller and the Zoom, but we sorted that out,
We
didn't we?
discussed that one, didn't we?
Yeah.
There was some confusion, and for the sake of total transparency, there have been payments backwards and forwards a little bit to Allah with the share of the potential share of the office software. That Allah paid you £30 for half of the office software. Unfortunately, that didn't work, so you've refunded £30 to Allah, and now you've paid Allah £60 for half of Zoom.
Yep. Perfect sense now.
Clarity. Payments wise, you'll have seen the email that I sent through with the checks attached to it. My salary, HMRC, and from the agenda, you'll also see a grass cutting invoice which has not yet arrived. I kind of hoped that it would have arrived in time, which is why I put it on here so that it could be agreed at tonight's meeting, but it obviously can't because it hasn't arrived. Grant requests. As we know, this meeting was due to happen last week, but for unforeseen circumstances couldn't, which means that we are actually allowed to discuss this grant request because it only arrived last Thursday, so we wouldn't have been able to discuss it Thursday evening last week anyway. It has come from Rebecca Andrew, who is the PCC secretary, and I will read you the letter. I write on behalf of Chilthorne Parochial Church Council to apply for a grant to assist with the maintenance costs of the churchyard in the coming year. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has meant the closure of the church building and subsequently no services have taken place. This has resulted in no income to assist in the paying the contractor to cut the grass. I would be grateful if the Parish Council could consider this matter in the forthcoming meeting. Yours faithfully, Rebecca Andrew. As we are all aware, you as a parish council cannot give a grant to the church. I know it has happened for every year for a long time. Unfortunately, the guidance has become less grey. It's still not 100% black and white, but it is as black and white as it can be until somebody takes the matter to court. And that somebody will be a church somewhere. Because as far as NALC, which is the National Association of Local Councils, and therefore SALC, Somerset Association of Local Councils, is concerned, it has been determined that you are not allowed to give them a grant. the powers under section 137, which is the section that you're allowed to give grants under, do not allow for monies to go to the church. We are aware, I've discussed this with Kevin, because obviously this was quite a controversial subject last year. We are aware that the grass cutting has been taking place at the church. And for that, we have asked for a grass cutting invoice. And it is in my diary in November to look for 3 tenders for the grass cutting of the area of grass that the parish council is responsible for, which is not the whole churchyard. It's only a small patch, to be fair. It's the bit between the gate and the railings, which we need to try and also find somebody to paint, which I've been trying to, before Hamish mentions it in a minute. So it is in my diary to look for 3 quotes for that for next year. Obviously, the PCC will be welcome to put a tender in for that job. At which point you can give the PCC money based on an invoice for a contract that you've tendered for. Does this make sense to everybody? And does everybody agree? And is everybody happy?
I'll be honest, I'm completely confused. So I accept the fact that we're not allowed to give a grant, so we shouldn't if that contravenes the rules. But so are we? I'm a bit confused as to the options we have available to us here. I mean, obviously, amongst the PCC, you know, if the railings need painting, well, can we find somebody within the village that can paint the railings and potentially fund the materials for that? Or, I mean, I'm very unclear as to what the options are.
If you can nominate somebody that's willing to do a good job of the Hamish is waving, do a good job of the painting.
The railings are ours, so we have to pay.
Yeah, so we will have to pay for the painting of the railings because the railings are ours.
Yeah, Adam, the issue here is that the railings and the spot of grass surrounding the war memorial is our responsibility. The fact that those are tacked on to the rest of the churchyard, which under laws going back to, I think, 1894, we're not supposed to be funding, is what then causes a little bit of difficulty. Plus, if like the history of expectation that Parish Council would fund some of that. What we've done in previous years is ensured that the areas which are our responsibility are suitably covered. And if I ended up with a little bit of extra grass cutting, so be it.
If the gentleman or lady who happens to be doing the ride-on mower or pushing the mower around the war memorial happens to feel that particularly charitable and mow the rest of the area, then that's their decision, I'm assuming.
It's the other way around, that they're feeling charitable and mow our area when they're mowing the churchyard.
I think Adam's way of saying it is probably the most is the one you wish to consider to be accurate.
Yes, as I say, if they wish to put a tender in to do our area next year, when we send them out at the tail end of this year, what they choose to do after they've mown our section is entirely up to them.
The issue, Emma, is that is not so much what we are doing for the railings, which is decided on, and for the normal tender, it's this extraordinary request that they've put in. Is that what you're bringing to this?
At the moment, the response to this request I am holding in my hand has to be a no. Because you cannot lawfully say yes to it.
Yeah, they can't have a grant, but we can pay them for cutting the grass, basically. That's
if I've got an invoice.
Yeah. I believe the invoice is coming, but obviously the person dealing with it is not very well, I believe.
Okay.
I haven't seen the grass being cut in the last week, I think, but I'll look at outside the door after this.
But yeah, so I have to let you know that we've received the grant request, and I have to let you know that lawfully you cannot say yes to it. What would you like to say?
I think we have to say no, Mr. Chairman, to it, and then have a quiet chat and see what we can do offline.
Yeah,
Make sure we get that receipt.
Yeah, we can't pay the request for the grant, but we can reimburse them for cutting the grass, whoever's been doing it up to now. And obviously next year they will have to provide us with a estimate or a quotation for cutting it. Is that correct, Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emma, is it Ian Gardner who's looking after this from their side?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, I might.
Is this being streamed to the general public?
Yes.
But the obvious answer is we can't pay the request. That's the end of that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can I just come back on that one?
Yeah, please, Paul.
The railings, I think, were an ideal job for our local church to look after.
We have approached them, and it's not a job that they feel that they can take on.
Well, because it's a different church.
I don't know. I wouldn't feel necessarily comfortable asking the reason why. They have said to us, we have approached them a while back on it, and they came back.
Yeah, we approached them last year, didn't we?
Because these railings aren't the church railings; they're ours for the war memorial. It shouldn't be a conflict.
I don't know if that was the reason that they said no.
Oh, okay, just a thought.
Thank you.
Okay. So, item 10, planning matters.
No applications received.
Emma, quick question. I happen to be looking at the planning website this afternoon for another reason. And are we involved in the in planning applications for Sock Dennis Farm?
I've not received a consultation on it.
Okay, there's a construction of an outdoor riding arena for personal use. Application validated Friday the 1st of May. It says here, awaiting decision.
Not received a consultation on it at all. Is Sock Dennis Farm within the parish?
That's why I'm not sure. If you got your map.
It's in Ilchester.
I think it might be Ilchester. I'm surprised. Either way, I'm surprised that I can get the map. It's in the cupboard over there. Either way, I'm surprised, even if we're a neighbouring parish, that because of the nature of it, we weren't consulted. Bear with me 2 seconds.
Yeah. Sorry, guys, I happened to notice it. As I say, while I was looking through for other reasons.
I think Sock Farm is in Chilthorne, but I don't think Sock Dennis Farm is.
Okay, thanks, Hamish.
In fact, in the olden days, Sock Dennis was a separate parish.
Okay. By the way, Hamish, are you able to tilt your camera down a little bit? We're seeing your top of your head.
Nice ceiling, though.
No, Sock Dennis Farm is definitely in Ilchester parish.
I stand informed.
Thanks for checking. But as I said, I'm a little surprised that as a neighbouring parish, because of the nature of the application, even though it's currently for personal use, that we weren't consulted.
Okay. Are we okay to move on to item 11, Emma? Yep, okay.
President,
Clerk's report and correspondence.
Nothing strictly under clerk's report and correspondence, but the only correspondence kind of falls under number 12, in as much as we have received yesterday the signed license for plot 3
Okay, brilliant.
of the allotments.
Okay, so that will bring us nicely in, then, Adam, to item 12, allotments.
Thank you, Chairman. So obviously, until receiving the license, there's very little that we obviously be able to do. However, I did spend last weekend strimming plots 3, 4, and 5. I know the owners of all of them, and making a big clearance of all the grass in that area, just in preparation for starting to look at the plans for that. I've also been doing some work on how we're going to manage the tenancies, I guess, of those plots and how that's going to be divvied up. There's a couple of the other allotment owners we're just working out how best to get to prep the area. I'm going to suggest next month's meeting. I'd like to come back with the proposals for any materials that we might consider purchasing, or who else is able to support us with that. I know that Tony in the last month's meeting was able to he mentioned about providing pallets or pallet wood, certainly for helping with building any raised beds in there. But until, obviously, like we said, the license came through, there's very little I've been able to progress on the allotments until this month.
Okay, have you got any interest in the plots at all?
So once again, until we work out how many plots there are going to be, it's difficult to determine how we're going to do that. But what I'm going to suggest we do is, when the request form goes on the website to request a plot or a subplot of that particular allotment, when that is available, I suggest there's either a leaflet drop or we try and communicate with the local team through What's On, that opportunity is available. And I just want to make sure that we officiate the process and how we're going to look after who, because I think what would be worth doing is coming up with some terms and conditions to give to the people who look after those plots, to make sure that they know the responsibilities of looking after it, etc. Okay,
have you got a contingency plan if you get too many requests or anything like that?
So I don't. In my honest opinion, I don't believe we're going to get too many requests potentially. I mean, at the moment, we're looking at having up to 8 plots on there, so there's quite a few. However, what I'd like to propose we do, based on maintenance of because obviously there's a lot of couch grass on there, and there's going to be a lot of work to clear it. So the plan will be essentially to do a phased approach. We'll look at putting the offer out to the village as to who would like to have one of the raised beds. They can, of course, apply for more than one, but I'd like to see what the general interest is first, and then we'll look to build them back as those requests come in. So because ultimately, if we have no requests to start with, that's a lot of area to maintain whilst we're waiting for people to come in and sign up for that. So what I'd like to do is focus on the T's and C's, and then put out the marketing to the village, and then after that we'll then look at making those plots available and prepping the groundwork.
Okay, mate. I'll leave that one with you, and that's your baby.
Thank you. And I say next month, if I can have an agenda item just to propose the T's and C's, and I'll get those drafted out based on the licensing wording that's given to us as the main license anyway, just so at least they're aware of that, and then we can at least agree what we're going to be asking people to sign up for.
One thing I am being aware of now, obviously, is the time issue, because obviously you're going to miss most of the crops for this year anyway.
There is winter crops, of course. So you've got onions, etc. You can put in later this year. So I agree. There's herbs and things you can do as well. So there are still plenty of things for some people who want to get started in it. But yeah, I agree. A lot of the earlier crops have been missed. I was going to ask the group whether we wanted to, if there was any benefit. I don't mind either way of asking people to put a deposit in for their plot. It could be a nominal sum of £10, for example, just to at least, dare I say, they have skin in the game for looking after their bed. That is, of course, is fully refundable. We're not asking people to pay for it, but it's a completely optional point. I wanted to at least raise it as a question to see what people felt about that.
I'm not fussed either way on that one. I prefer it if they put their own materials to the plot, what they want to do with it.
Let's have a look when we see the T's and C's drafted next month. I mean, you can always check and see what the general view is. I mean, I think that having people commit something to it would be useful.
I'll draft the T's and C's. It's mainly basically the point being is obviously if they take the plot on and they do nothing with it for their year at all, obviously there's going to be some effort to get that plot back into a state it needs to be in for the next year for someone to use it. So the point of asking them for a nominal suggested £10 deposit would be to say if they essentially do leave it in a state of disarray, then at least that's something to put towards someone spending their day, weekend, or whatever, getting that back into a fit state again. But like I said, I'll put the T's together with a proposal next month, and then we can discuss it during that agenda item then.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, item 13, Village Hall.
Nothing to report. No change from last month. No meetings held. Waiting for it to reopen, other than for the post office. The fences are being changed but replaced, but that's very much internal activity.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Can I ask how much? Sorry.
Carry on, Paul. Sorry, mate.
Could I ask how much has the post office raised for the church to date?
I have no idea, but I can ask the question.
It's about £2,000 a year.
2,000 a year. And how many years has it been running? Got to be 10 at least, isn't it? If not more.
I should think so.
Yeah, that's right. It's just that somebody was decrying our post office, saying it's not a proper post office. And I think it's the opposite. It's a meeting point for a lot of people in this village. And teas, coffees, there's exchange of books. It's more than a post office.
I totally agree. And I think it's, I mean, the fact that we have the post office coming to the village, I think says an awful lot, right? If we didn't have it, then people have to go. There's a lot of people use it as a post office as well as on the social side.
Yes. But there's some people in the village would not speak to somebody unless it was once a week at the post office.
I wouldn't add any names to that.
No, but it is a social point.
Yeah,
It
totally
draws
agreed.
people there.
Yeah, totally agreed, and try to support it.
Yeah.
Certainly encourage people to support it if possible.
So I just need my answers for this planning officer when they try to dismiss my post office. Not me personally, my post office, but our post office.
I think box get back in would be the answer. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. Okay, item 14, Recreational Trust.
No, nothing to report again, really. I passed on the information that there may be grants available from the South Somerset District Council to Lynn, who said that somebody was dealing with that.
Okay, Hamish, thank you very much. Item 15, any other urgent matters raised by permission of the chairman?
I've got one.
Okay, Tim.
It's really a request for Emma. Emma, I saw that NALC came out with a note on accessibility for website guidance, or guidance on accessibility for websites the other day. Adam and I haven't got the logons for the NALC site to get the document that they've produced. Could you download it for us, please?
I don't have a NALC log on either.
Ah, okay. Any
I
idea?
have a NALC log on, but not a NALC.
Right. Okay. Oh well, that's a really helpful piece of stuff from them. And then
Next, the question: who's got the talc log on?
I can try it with my SALC details.
might be worth it. I mean,
That works.
yeah.
I'll have to track it down because I don't. I know, because certainly for Chilthorne, I don't get the NOUT emails anymore. Even though I've tried desperately to sign myself back up to them.
Okay. You're welcome to them.
Hamish has something to say, I believe.
Are we going to get somebody, John Dowden presumably, to cut the hedge on King's Hill again with the permission of the farmer, perhaps? It was very successful last year. It really knocked it back. It wouldn't need knocking back as much this year.
I thought it was an ongoing contract.
I thought that had to be done after September.
Not if it's for safety.
Not for if it's dangerous to other road users and stuff like that.
Okay. Right.
If it becomes a highways issue and a problem on the road for safety reasons, we can cut a hedge at any time.
Yeah, I must admit, somebody went out the other day with a hedge trimmer and just made the signs slightly more visible.
Okay. Obviously, I can't answer it because Mark's not here. He knows more about the hedge cutting side of it than I do.
It is getting slightly shaggy though, so I think it would probably be worth us pursuing that.
It was done about the end of June last year, I think.
Yeah, I would suggest it doesn't actually need very much cutting, but just a straight trim down each side of King's Hill, even a partial trim at this stage, and perhaps a full trim come September would be useful.
Okay, I think Emma's looking something up a minute.
I need to see when it was done last year.
I think it was about this time. And my memory is we went for it around about June, July time.
4th of July, I paid. The cheque was raised.
Okay, so I think it was done back end of June.
I expect the 4th of July is the first Thursday in July.
Yeah. So it would have been tail end of June that it was actually done.
Yeah.
I can find you the exact invoice if you want. It's just in a folder over there.
No,
Ready
just,
for the rest of the audit.
just make contact with who we need to.
I think we arranged it through Mark last time.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was John Clover.
I think originally last time Mark was going to do it. He said he'd do it, and then he discovered he was too busy maybe. And I think John Dowding's hedge cutters on a tractor full time, so he could do it without having to fix it on a tractor and take it off again.
Okay.
You're right, Hamish.
Yeah, I think Mr. Dowden did do it.
As long as he doesn't do it like he did the other bit recently.
Okay. Okay, so that's item 16 and date and time for the next meeting.
2nd of July, first Thursday in July.
2nd of July.
Yep.
Sounds good. Back to normal time, 7:30.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, fine by me as well, 7:30. Well, apologies for my lateness. I've got trouble with my PC. So that's why I was a bit late joining. So apologies for that.
No problem. Nice to see you, Dennis.
Monitoring any calls? Stewie. I was wondering about the allotments. I'll have a look, see my my big walk behind tractor. It's been in the garage for 2.5 years. If I can get that going, you're welcome to use it to plough up the allotments anyway. before you start making your raised beds. Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. Yeah, that's great. We've the nice things, we've had an abundance of kind of people come forward and say they want to make the allotments look a lot tidier, at least anyway. Even since I've trimmed it, the residents opposite are pretty chuffed about that. So yeah, I'll certainly well, we can have a chat about it next month, and yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I should be in and out of Chilthorne quite a bit now. Now they've started my house. Well, they've started excavating the contaminated soil and disrupted all the sewage and flooded everywhere with sewage. But that's all been cleared up now. But yeah, I'll be in and out of the village whilst the work is going on. And hopefully I'll be back in there by Christmas. Hopefully.
Okay, thanks very much, Dennis.
No problem.
Okay. Well, we'll see you all.